Today in our 2003 Toyota Tacoma, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the Roadmaster Taillight wiring kit for towed vehicles with LED bulb and socket. Part number RM-152-LED. The reason you'd want this setup is it's just going to be two bulbs that are going to be drilled into the back of your taillights, therefore eliminating any tie-in to your factory wiring. You're going to go from the light with our 4-pole flat wiring up into the coach wiring and eliminate cutting into any of your vehicle's wiring and not causing any problems. If you should still be under warranty, it's not going to affect your warranty. And if you have any spikes, it's not going to affect the vehicle's wiring system at all. Now let's go ahead and show you how to install it. Now here's what our kit's going to consist of. We're going to have two bulbs and sockets. And these are going to be LED. They're going to be 450 lumens, so it's going to be a really bright light. And it's a red diode, so it's not going to get that pink look going through your factory taillights. So you have two of those. You'll have about 27 feet of 4-way flat wiring that'll run from the rear of the lights up into the front of the vehicle onto our plug. We'll have some miscellaneous butt connectors, some wire loom, and some zip ties. Now we're going to start by removing our taillights. It's going to be 4 Phillips screws. We'll just go ahead and back out those 4 screws. Then we'll go ahead and just push down this tab here and release the wiring. We can take our taillight over to the bench where we're going to have to drill a hole to install our bulb and socket. Now for the most amount of clearance, we're going to need to put it pointing from the inside out. So we're going to put it right in about that area there. Now one nice thing about these taillights is they do come apart, so it's not going to fill it full of a bunch of shavings. We're going to take this bulb out of the way so we don't break the bulb as we drill it. We're going to go ahead and take a 1-inch hole saw, and we're going to go ahead and drill a hole. Now we can test fit our new bulb. Make sure it's going to fit under the cover, which it's going to fit nice because this has got a bulge to it and it's not going to allow it to hit. So we can reinstall the factory bulb. Now with this one, we're going to go ahead and take a round file. We're just going to clean up this edge here. And we'll do the same thing on the outside here, just get all the excess plastic out of the way. And we'll take our socket, we're going to place it in there. Then we can take a screwdriver, we'll bend over the tabs so it'll keep it in place. It's kind of work your way all the way around. That's what it'll look like once it's installed. Your factory light's still going to work. It's going to show through and around. And we'll just place our lens back on there. We'll set this aside and do the other side. Now our last step we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of silicone, some black RTV. If you don't have it, you can pick it up on our website. It's part number LT37467. We're just going to put a little bit around the outside here to help seal up our taillight and keep moisture out. And now we'll repeat the same process for the other lens. Now while our silicone is drying, we're going to go ahead and run our wires from the driver's side. We're going to run a jumper over the passenger side. To do that, we're going to take a piece of old airline tubing, or you can take a piece of wire just to help us run our wiring down. So we'll feed that tubing up until it comes out. So we're going to just go ahead and tape it onto the piece of tubing and pull it down and run it across to the other side of the vehicle. Now we ran our wire across following the factory harness. Then we're going to take our tubing and slide it up following the factory harness as well and come out into the light socket here. Now we have our wire up here. We're going to go ahead and separate out our 4 wires. You just hold the knife on there and then pull the wire away. I'm going to go ahead and cut back a little of the excess on the end here where we separated them because it tends to kind of peel it back a little bit. Now we're not going to be using the yellow wire at this time. I'm going to use the green for the passenger side. So we'll just cut that back. We're going to go ahead and strip back the brown wire, the white wire, and the green wire. And to each of those, I'm going to put a blue butt connector. I'm going to crimp it down. You want to invest in a good set of crimpers so you don't over crimp it or under crimp it, compromising our connection. Just give them a little tug every time you crimp one on. Make sure it's going to stay there. Now I'm going to take a zip tie. I'm going to tie this 4 flat wiring to the factory wiring so it doesn't fall down out of there. And we'll trim off the excess. Now we're going to take the light that's going to go on this side. Our bulb and socket wires do come pre-stripped, so we're just going to go ahead and twist them up. To those, we're going to take the black wire. We're going to crimp that into the white wire of our 4 flat. Then we'll take the brown wire. We'll attach that to the brown wire of the 4 flat wiring. Give that one a tug as well. And our last connection is going to be the green wire that's going to go to the red coming out of our bulb. So we have those all nice and tight. Take a little bit of electrical tape and we're going to wrap up each of our connections to help keep out any moisture and corrosion. Now we can just go ahead and wrap this one up as well. And we'll wrap them all together. Just to make a nice, neat little package here. We're going to go right up where we've cut off the other wire there. Now, there's not going to be any juice in that yellow wire because it's not going to be attached on this side coming across. And we can take our factory plug. We'll plug it back into the back of our light here. Make sure it locks. And take it and tuck all our wiring inside. Now, the light's held in with 2 different size screws. The shorter ones will go straight ahead. So we'll get those started. And the longer ones are going to go in at an angle. Now we're going to secure our wiring and go back to the other side and make our connections on that side. Now we've gone ahead and just zip tied it along our factory harness where it runs up into the tail light where we started. Now we can go ahead and cut off our wiring where it comes across from the other side. Then our excess wire, we're going to take that and we're going to route it down out of the vehicle using our tubing again. We'll go ahead and attach it. We're going to pull that down as well, as that's going to go to the front of the vehicle. And we'll just pull all that wire down. And we need to separate out all 4 of the wires on both pieces. Now you want to pay attention to which one is the one that came from the other side, as we're not going to use the yellow wire out of that side again as well. And we'll separate those out. So we'll trim back that yellow wire on this side as well. And we'll separate out the wires on this side. This will be the wire running to the front of the vehicle. And we'll go ahead and clip off that little bit on the end like we did on the other side. So now we're going to go ahead and strip back all of our wiring. Then we'll take our driver's side tail light. We're going to take the black wire from the tail light and the white wire from the other side. We're going to tie those 2 together. We're going to attach the ring connector and we'll crimp it. That's going to be our ground for our system. So we're going to take the brown wire that came from the passenger side. We're going to twist it together with the brown wire out of the back of our tail light here. Then we'll put a yellow butt connector on. We can crimp that. We'll give it a tug, make sure it's nice and tight. Then to the other side of that connector, we'll take the brown wire that goes with that one we're going to run to the front of the vehicle. We'll crimp that into the other side. Take our red wire out of the back of the driver's side bulb. That's going to go to the yellow wire coming from the front of the vehicle. Crimp those together. And we're going to take the green wire that comes from the passenger side. We're going to attach it to the green wire that's going to run to the front of the vehicle. Now, it wouldn't be a bad idea if you're doing this to pick up a couple extra connectors, just so you have the ones you're going to need. Because sometimes these kits don't always have the ones that are going to work with your application, because this is a universal kit. So you just pick up a couple extras, and that way you always have the right amount. Once we have all our connections made, we're going to take a little bit of tape. We're going to wrap up our connections to keep out any corrosion. Our last step before we install our taillight, we're going to need to ground this whole system. We're going to use this piece of sheet metal here. It's a nice thick piece. We use the supplied self-tapping screw, and we can run that down. Make sure that's nice and tight. And we'll take our factory plug. We can snap it back into the light. Make sure it clips up real nice. And we're going to take a zip tie and we're going to tie up all these wires to keep everything nice and secure. And we can tuck everything nicely back down in there. And we'll reinstall our taillight. Using the long screws on the outside and the short ones on the inside. Once we get them all started, we can go ahead and secure them down. Now we can move to the bottom side and start routing our wires towards the front of the vehicle. Now we've gone ahead and run our wiring, staying as close to the factory wiring harness as possible, and zip tying it all the way along. We want to make sure to keep away from anything that's going to be moving or any kind of heat source, so we don't have any problems with our wiring. And we follow it along over the frame rail here, along the side of our gas tank, making sure to zip tie it. We made sure we stayed away from the mechanism for our e-brake. We've actually gone through a hole that's in this bracket here to keep it away from our steering, as we don't want to have anything interfere with our steering as we're going down the road. Then we just kind of zip tied it along through the top of the engine compartment there and brought it down and dropped it out right here in the center where we have a bracket that we're going to mount our plug to. This wiring kit does not come with a plug, so you need to choose the plug that you're going to use. You need to install it, then we can test our system. Now we've gone ahead and installed our plug. Our customer bought the Hopkins Night Glow 7-way to 4-way round adapter, part number HM47044. We can go ahead and test our running light circuit. Now we'll test our left turn signal and our right turn signal. Followed by our brakes. Now we're ready to hitch it up and hit the road. And that's going to do it for a look at and install of the Roadmaster Taillight wiring kit for towed vehicles with LED bulb and socket, part number RM-152-LED on our 2003 Toyota Tacoma.